Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man at your services. How are you all? Hope you're doing very well. Can you see the little UFO descending upon my head? Like some kind of mothership from Close Encounters? Or some kind of weird shape-shifting alien coming to Earth to wreak havoc and assimilate us all? Yeah. Little thing there. Something there. Bottle of J&B here. And a great big thing t-shirt here with a rampant husky dog. Being the owner of a husky dog, I know just how rampant they can get. Anyway, folks, hope you're all doing very, very well. Now, the purpose of this little video here is to discuss a few questions which I am always asked. In fact, if you're a fan of the thing, then you're going to ask these questions yourself, and in the forums that you may frequent and your circle of buddies, whenever you watch the film, you're going to throw these little questions in, these conjectures, these puzzles that John Carpenter's awesome 82 version of John W. Campbell's Who Goes There? It's always going to pose these conundrums because the film is so magnificently built upon mystery, suspense, paranoia. Who did that? Who was that then? What happened there? When did that? And how can I trust you? And it's built upon it. Now, the questions that I've listed them down here because I get asked them absolutely all the time. People just send me messages like, who do you think was the first one to be the thing? Oh God, who got to the blood? Who's the thing at the end? Well, okay. Well, we're going to have a little bit of a fun sort of dissection of the questions. So, first of all, the one everyone always asks, whose shadow's on the wall? Well, we already know the answer to that because when he made the film, John Carpenter said, look, we can't have anyone who's recognisable as any of the cast because otherwise the audience are going to be clued in as to who it is. So they chose, and a lot of you know this anyway, Dick Warlock. Kurt Russell's often stuntman and double for any action scenes. A great stuntman, great actor. He played the Shape in Halloween 2. Dick Warlock is the shadow that you see on the wall. When the husky dog, Jed, who's actually a Malamute, wolf dog hybrid, walks into that room, the shadow on the wall is from Dick Warlock. But the thing about that is the thing. That's going to happen a lot, folks. Get ready for that. The thing is that his shadow on the wall, because he had sort of curly hair, not much of it, but it was a bit rangy around his head, and the sprightly way that the shadow turns, it makes you immediately think of Palmer, played by David Clennon. And Palmer is, of course, the thing. So, one of the things. So I've always thought that was Palmer. Anyway, even though it wasn't played by David Clennon, it was played by Dick Warlock. But the curly hair thing as well, Norris, Charles Hallahan. We know that Norris is a thing. Well, we don't at that stage. You know what I mean? And he's got curly hair too. So, it does throw a little bit of a wobbler in there to whatever your theory and conjecture is. But as with all of these questions, you're going to have to defer back to the writer Bill Lancaster and, of course, John Carpenter, because they're the only ones who have the established answers. But even they don't know, because the structure of the film is so that it is a mystery and it doesn't really, at the end of the day, matter. But they have no idea that a film would achieve such an incredible cult fan base, which decades later is still poring over it frame by frame, image by image, and trying to put the timeline together and work out all the things that happen behind the scenes, things that you haven't, see what I mean? It's unavoidable. The things that happen behind the scenes of the thing, in the shadows, as it were. And it's fun, of course it's fun. And there's no reason why our opinions aren't as valid as anybody else's. Just because John Carpenter says, like, you know what, I don't really know the answer to this. I just made the film according to the script and I just worked it out with the actors and I left it up to the imagination of the audience. It's all well and good, great get out clause. And of course the thing is, he doesn't know. There's no definitive answers. So, the shadow on the wall is Dick Warlock. Who is it character-wise? In my personal opinion, it's Palmer. There you go. So, right. So the feed on from that is who's contaminated first? Well, because of that sequence and the timing of it, I would say that it's Palmer. Palmer is first. You can argue quite a lot about maybe it's Blair, maybe it's Norris. See, oh dear. I mean, there's 12 names to conjure with here, but yeah, I'm going along with Palmer on this. You can deviate from this path. Did the dog go somewhere else first? Well, who knows? Genuinely, who knows? Okay, the next bit. The bit that gets out of the kennel roof. Okay, right, yeah. When it makes that horrible sort of squelchy, yelping noise and goes up and it punches a hole in the ceiling of the kennels. Oh, by the way, what I forgot to do in my little display here, I've got the marvellous diorama of Macready with his flight suit peeled down and the shotgun shooting at the huge thing monstrosity. I don't know what's in there, but it's weird and pissed off. I've got that with all the tendrils coming out and horribly a few husky dogs getting assimilated. It's a great piece of kit, but I also don't like it because I don't like seeing the huskies in trouble and jeopardy. But, so what happens to that bit? Well, folks, it doesn't get out. If you watch the scene again, what the thing is doing, you know, Mac wants the flamethrower. Mac wants the what? And Mac's there with the flamethrower. And, you know, the shotgun. Oh, so Childs is there with the flamethrower and burns it all. Damn it, Childs, torch it! And all that. And the soundtrack's playing, and this is Ennio Morricone's bit of unused music. Unused for a damn good reason. I love Ennio Morricone, but that is absolute shit. God, no. There's a reason why Carpenter cut those bits of music out of the score. Yeah, God awful, and there's a few more of them as well. But when it punches its way through the ceiling, and all the tendrily bits go and squeak their way up there, they don't get out. They get torched. None of that actually escapes there. Watch it again, it doesn't. You actually see on the top of the frame a huge burning hulk just go and drop down. That's the bit that everyone assumes was trying to get out. It doesn't get out. It is torched there. Not that it matters because it's already assimilated somebody else, of course. Palmer, who may also have assimilated somebody else as well in the meantime, because who knows? Who knows? The beauty of it. So, yeah. The bit that gets out of the kennel roof, no bit gets out of the kennel roof. Okay, the next question people always ask, who is with Mac and Norris at the saucer crash site? Right, this is when they've seen, you know, where the Norwegians were spending a lot of their time, not too far away. Mac gets his big silly hat on, which I've got right up there, which you've seen, you know, I've got the hat. He puts that on, off he goes, and you see Charles Hallahan as Norris quickly put his parka on and bundle out after him. When they get there, of course, there's three characters there. Three. Norris and Macready descend, rappel down. Norris has got a bad heart, remember. And that's quite a strenuous bit of activity, that. And they get on top of the saucer, and they try to work out how long it's been there and whatever. It's a tremendous effect shot. So long as when you watch the restored Blu-ray of all this, and you do see, because it's a miniature and a matte shot with live action, you also do see the shadow of a technician, of a crew member, move about as well in the bottom right hand corner, I think. But anyway, so who's the third person there? It's Palmer. Again, Palmer will crop up a lot. It's Palmer. Palmer is also a helicopter pilot as well. You know, that's established. Yeah, he might be a pothead. He might be, you know, quite deranged. Clearly, before he even gets assimilated, he's already, you know, he's gone sort of wacko. But that is Palmer who's there. It's established. Carpenter's established it as well and confirmed it. And it is, if you look at the Parkers when you see them all in different sequences again, that's Palmer. he was there. I know you never see his face, and Carpenter definitely did not think that there was going to be some kind of enigma with this. He wasn't going to think people are going to go back to this film and try and work out, well, hang on, who was that with him? Now, this does throw up an interesting sort of conundrum here. So MacReady is with two things on that flight. Totally isolated, could easily have been assimilated. And that comes into a question which is established in the original Campbell novella, Who Goes There? Because in that, the thing has a hive brain, and other things are aware of other things, which is a question which always pops up. If I was a thing, would I know that? Would I know I was a thing? I think we can work out that, yeah, you kind of do, but also because it has malicious intentions and deviousness, you know. So I would say that, yeah, if you've been assimilated and you're a perfect imitation, perfect in every way, I think you still know that you are a thing. Whoops-a-daisy. Nice bit of artwork, that, by the way. Yeah, you can see that. Yeah, one of the most infamous images from the movie, the spider head. Don't you wish you saw more of it? Well, you can. It's here. All right, sit down now. You've had enough. Enough exercise for the day. Where was I? In fact, yeah. Forget Who Goes There. Where was I? Where was I going? On another tangent. What was the question again? The hive brain. Yeah. In the novella, it does have a hive brain. In this film, it's kind of hard to work out whether that really is the case or not. Because if that was the case, and Norris and Palmer were both things at the time of that flight, and MacReady is on his own and human, of course they're going to assimilate him. But why the hell wouldn't they? One of the reasons of the assimilation of other people is to gain body mass, gain control. So you're not going to leave him out. That wouldn't be an option. So is one of the two of those characters not a thing at this stage, or is it because they don't have that hive brain mentality? As MacReady himself says, that when he sees Norris go up in flames and the head come off, and I gave him the idea that every little part of it is an individual animal with a built-in, instinct to survive. Well, I think we should cling to that, really. Cling to the thing. Once you are a thing, I don't think, unless there's some kind of like little secret clue, little Masonic handshake sort of thing you can do, a little wink or whatever, that you're going to be aware that another character, another person is also a thing. I mean, in the overall conjecture of it all, there might be things that give it away, but, anyway, I think each personification is its own entity and does not know that that one is, unless a clue is given. So, what was the question again? Does a thing know another thing? Hive brain. Right, yeah. I think, yeah, we don't. It isn't a hive brain, but it does want other body mass to create an even bigger version of itself. It's bigger, it's stronger, it can split into more things, it can do more stuff around the camp. Hence, Blair getting locked away. Well, who builds the saucer? How does Blair build the saucer? And it's one of the wonderful moments that is pure imagination. It's left up to you. How does Blair get about doing all that? And now the bloody phone is ringing. But don't worry, it's distant and we don't care. How does Blair do that? And a great idea is that Blair just splits into many different little bits and goes around the camp and gets them all back. And it's just a great image that there's lots of little Blairs or whatever, multiple armed Blairs carrying all these bits back, burrowing under the snow and the ice and just constructing, this spacecraft. Well, short-term craft, because it's not built to travel too far away, just to get out of the friggin' snow and ice, go somewhere a bit warmer. But, so, where are we up to now? Oh, well, who got to the blood? I don't think you're ever going to know that one. Who gets to the blood? That is one of those. It's just that's thrown in there as an Agatha Christie, Miss Marple, Poirot, Sherlock Holmes sort of puzzle to try and work out. The script never makes that clear. We have lots of paranoia about, well, who's got the keys? Well, Gary's got the keys, and obviously Dr. Copper's the only one ever goes in there. So the fingers pointed, well, two fingers, one at Copper, one at Gary. Hence why they're all strapped up there to the chair. But it's done deliberately to leave things vague. So who gets to the blood? Well, okay, we now know that Palmer and Norris were things, so it could have been either of them. It all depends on the timeline. That I believe Palmer's first. Norris, when's Norris done? We don't know, do we? But Blair, and there's the other big question. Sorry, that's one I missed out on my little list. Oh no, I didn't. It's there. When was Blair assimilated? God, who knows? That's a good one. That is Blair a thing when he goes mad in the communication centre with Windows and starts smashing up all the communications equipment? Yeah, I think he is. I think his. No, people can argue this one. I take on board their argument that maybe Blair is assimilated only once he's in the work shed, the tool shed, and isolated. Yeah, I can see that happening. But in the way I watch the movie and the way that I enjoy it and the way I think about it is that Blair already was. So the reason why he's trying to act like a paranoid human being, but he's also disabling all their means of escape, all their means of calling for help. So that he can get isolated. He's going to play the part of this lunatic, deranged scientist, like get him out the way, get him locked up, which gives him time to then construct his own vehicle to get out of there. That's what I believe. That's the way I view it anyway. But you take it back to when Blair's doing his incredible computations and calculations about world assimilation, 72,000 hours from first contact, I would always have thought that maybe he was a thing then. Hang on though. That he was a thing at that point, and he's also trying to work out, right, yeah, okay, if I'm working this out, maybe they can work it out too. But I want to take over this planet. Because I'm here now, so I may as well. How long will it take me? I don't know what's going on here. It's almost like a Rob Bottin special effect itself. Forget Spiderhead, I'm Spider Chin. That he's trying to work out, well, I can take over the world in 72,000 hours. Okay, I can. Yeah, all right, that doesn't sound like a bad little sojourn. I can do that. But what negates that is that when he opens the drawer to pull out the little revolver, why would he do that? Why would he do that? If he's already a thing, he doesn't need the weapon to do it. So what would be the point? So I think he's assimilated sometime between those calculations and the attack on the radio room. Somehow or other, where's Blair? And they're all looking. Something has happened there. Did Blair get to the blood as well? Well, your guess is as good as mine. He does go missing. On Windows, where were you? It's all this stuff. There's a lot of finger pointing and paranoia and conjecture, as there would be. So Blair is assimilated, certainly, I would say, between his calculations and the attack on the Radio Shack, call it. So yeah, but that I'll let that one go. I'll let that one fly out to everybody else because that's only my supposition, and I could be derailed on that completely. I really don't know. None of us know, and that's the beauty of it. Nobody's wrong, nobody's right. It's all up in the air, isn't it? What was next? Who got to the blood? Well, we don't know. It could be Blair, it could be Palmer or Norris. When was Blair assimilated? Yeah, well, covered that. There's a thing, no, another thing. The hive brain. I don't think in the concept of this version, I don't think they do know each other. Okay, right. Who is the thing at the end? I mean, this is the big major one. Of course, there's plenty of other little problems, but I'm aware that time is running on. Who is the thing at the end? This is the greatest thing of all about this movie. The enigmatic, leave it up to the viewer style conclusion. Because if the film does not conclude, it stops short, and it's wonderful. I know some critics and many people who watch the film despise it because of that. They love to be spoon-fed a conclusion. They don't like things. They don't want. Oh my God! You mean I've got to use my own imagination? I've got to work it out for myself. I don't want to do that. I want a neat conclusion. I want the film to end. I want to know all the answers. How dare you make me have to use my grey matter? Look, everyone's different, and personally, I adore this conclusion. For me, it's one of the best endings to a movie that I've ever encountered. It is, of course, my favourite film of all time, as you guys know. What was that? What about Escape from New York? Yeah, I know. The two of them kind of vie, top and top. But the better film is The Thing, by far. So, that conclusion. Who is the thing at the end? Neither is the thing at the end. That's my considered opinion. They're both human, and sadly they're both going to die. And that is the bleakness, that's the nihilistic conclusion that Carpenter's film inevitably will drag us towards. That humanity, no matter how much, the optimism and hope is shown that we still fight back. We can still fight, even in, it's in an era of a pandemic where people are shopping other people for breaking COVID restriction rules, and the whole film, The Thing, is about contamination and how to isolate and keep away, and the parallels are enormous. I have done videos on this before in full MacReady character. Do check them out, they're way back. But so those parallels are incredibly prescient, and it's just amazing to watch it now in the current climate. But yeah, I do not think that either of them is a thing. Yeah, you could argue that Childs' jacket is a different colour. That's already been acknowledged as being a continuity error. There you go. Oh, but you can't see the breath. God, who is it now? Who did he say he can't see? You can see it on MacReady. You can't see it on Childs. Well, in actual fact, you can. Because as the scene plays out, you do see his breath. You do. Yeah, oh yeah, they're right. He's not breathing. If that was the case, you'd have caught other people a while ago. Without the breath being seen in the frozen air, you'd have spotted him a mile off. But anyway, you do see Childs breathing. You do see it come out later in that sequence. Where were you, Childs? Thought I saw Blair. Went out after him. Got lost in the storm. Yeah, okay, so we've covered the jacket, we've covered the breathing. MacReady offers him some J&B, and he takes it, glug, 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 and then MacReady begins to laugh. That little chuckle, and then just stares at him as if to wait to see what happens. And everyone says, oh yeah, because that's a Molotov cocktail, it's not really J&B whiskey in there. No. It is J&B whiskey. MacReady's got that bottle for himself. He's used a hell of a lot of bottles up doing his Molotov cocktails. Yeah, we know that. We know. But he's swigging from that. That's not a trick. Like he didn't know he was going to bump into Childs or anybody else down there in that hellish final inferno with the arsehole of the planet. So, no. Childs is human. MacReady is human. And we also know that Carpenter was forced by Universal and the studio suits and all that, look, people aren't going to like this ending. They need some kind of conclusion. They need to know that their hero is actually alright. So against all his best judgments and against all the script ideas that they'd have, they then show, and we've never seen it, I think there's a shot or two of MacReady who's been picked up. A rescue team has arrived there. Childs is supposedly dead, frozen death, whatever. But they then pick up MacReady and they take him back to an Argentinian base and they give him a blood test, which shows he's human. That was filmed. It was never meant to be in it, and it just does not work at all. God, that would have ruined it. It did form the basis of the Dark Horse comic books that followed afterwards, which initially were quite interesting, although massively. They pumped up the biceps on the McCready character. He had arms like this. He was like 10,000 assimilated Arnold Schwarzeneggers rolled into one flight suit. He was huge, but there was even muscles in his beard, for God's sake. And yeah, but it rapidly lost any credibility, that storyline, I thought. But the film ends on such a bleak, yet fantastically sort of. It's the stalemate. It's the chess game. It starts off black and white chess pieces, and at the end of the film, you've got a black and white character in a stalemate scenario. Neither trusts the other, but you know, if we've got any surprises for each other, I don't think we're in much shape to do anything about it. So what do we do then? Why don't we just wait here for a while, see what happens? It's beautiful, a beautiful finale. So there's no fuel in the bottle. The jacket colour change is a continuity error. It's not part of the story, because the reason why I mention that is that people always go about, you know, well, it's in the script as well. Like, no, I think that the thing, it rips through your clothes when it takes you over, because you always find some shredded long johns in the most ridiculous of places, and it's a way of setting other people up, which is a great little clever MacGuffin to use there, clever little device, which the Thing would do. Being this devious Machiavellian sort of mentality, it would set other people up and set the team against each other. Let them do half the work for itself, like let them kill each other. You know, it can easily work that into its strategy. But that doesn't play into the finale, I don't think. The jacket's a continuity error. The breath is there. And if Childs was the Thing, again, this comes into this hive brain thing. Would a Thing know another thing? So if Childs was a Thing and they could read minds and they could recognise each other, well, he would either know straight away that McCready wasn't a Thing and then just take him over, or vice versa. McCready would know that he wasn't a Thing and take him over. So they're either both things or they're both human. My opinion, which right from when I very first saw the video, and I don't forget, I saw the film back in 1982 when it first came out, so I've had a long time to think about this, and I watched the film far too many times. It's possibly unhealthy the amount of times I watched the movie, and that in itself, because you enjoy the film, but if you're going to use repeated viewings, once you go over, like, say, I don't know, a dozen, and I've gone over like 12,000 probably viewings of it, your brain will become stewed by all the different permutations and possibilities that it throws up. So you need to really watch it a few times and then, like, okay, your ideas are there. But then there's always little elements that come up. I mean, a great thing, it was about 10 years ago, only 10 years ago, that I realised you hear the keys drop when Windows walks in, and you can see that Bennings is being assimilated, and he goes, "Go on, Bennings, I gotta get some sleep." Holy shit, as you see Bennings sitting there curiously wriggling, half naked with tendrils around him covered in pink glue. It's a strangely sexual scene, and that's why it's so disturbing. Well, when he sees that, you don't see it, but you hear the keys drop on the floor, and they're the keys everyone's going on about. Who has the keys to get? And that's a great moment. Whether that's actually really, I think it was definitely at a script level they put that in there because it mentioned who gets the keys, but I don't think they really thought out quite how that could be maybe more effectively or more prominently used. Because if they did make it more obvious and more overt, then that would be a bigger issue, and you would have to pretty much nail who took the keys, how long were the keys missing for. And I know it's addressed, but they'd make it more obvious who a culprit could be. But it's there, and it just adds a frisson. So what I'm saying is that even when you watch it again, it has the power, even now, to throw up, "Oh God, I didn't see that," or yeah, there's a different way of looking at it there. One of the things that bothered me was that someone said, again, I think it was an Outpost 31 forum site, they said that you can watch the film from an entirely different point of view, perspective, that McCready's a thing almost from the word go. And I remember watching it a couple of times and thinking, God, yeah, this works. No, it doesn't. It just doesn't work. You know, you've got the Palmer as a thing during the kennel sequence, I reckon. And if you watch that scene again, and you know, the flamethrower's gone in and McCready's been blasting away, and everyone's in front of McCready, Palmer turns around and looks at McCready, and look at the look on his face. It's like, he knows, shit, you're the guy I've got to watch out for. You are proactive. You know straight away. Don't just stand back and watch destroy. So I've got to watch out for you. He's the only one who looks back as they all stare at the carnage steaming away in the back of the kennel. Palmer's the one that looks around at McCready. Palmer's the thing. The first thing, other than the dog. Folks, I have been and always shall be Kilt-Man. What? No, the whiskey's gone, McCready. Hey? No, we can't fill it. Whiskey's gone. Don't tell him. Folks, going to see you all. Laters. I don't know about you, but things just ain't what they used to be.